Hello, one and all. It is me, Stephanie. And before we start to set our soul free, I want to remind you to don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click the like, and leave a comment. Also, don't forget to hit the little notification bell so you know when new videos post. As always, I know we won't always agree, and that's okay. Man wasn't meant to always agree with one another. That's what makes our world that God created unique, because everyone has a difference of opinion, and I'm okay with that. Leave your comments so we can keep the conversation going. Remember, it's not about me, it's about you. It's about our youth. It's about setting our souls free with me, Stephanie. So let's get into it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Wherever you are, in whatever part of the country you may be living in, I greet you and say thank you for blessing me with your presence. It is time to set your soul free with me, Stephanie. So let's see what we can be blessed with today. Hello. Long time no see, no hear from. It's your girl Stephanie, and it's time to set our soul free. Today, we are going to talk about serving the Lord will pay off after a while. Serving the Lord will pay off after a while. See, I come from a singing family. Even my baby brother will lead a song every once in a while. But my dad used to sing this song called Serving the Lord Will Pay Off After a While. And the part that led to the verse said, Serving the Lord will pay off after a while. A verse of the song goes, I got to keep on working, yes I have, because I want my starry crown. I know that my way will get brighter, even though my friends sometimes let me down. And oh, what a time it will be. My Savior's face I see, serving the Lord, and oh, it will pay off after a while. I stand here as a living witness to tell you, yes, it will. Those who've been with me for a while, even those who just started with me, you're going to know that my life has a story. And I have no problem sharing that story because I was a dingleberry, but I'm still here to live to tell this tale. So I have no problem sharing what I've been through to help those who may be thinking about it. Don't do it. As I write this, or when I wrote this, I can still clearly hear my dad singing the song and being a testimony to how true that statement is not only him, but everyone under his voice. You know, we're talking about back in the 80s, probably, when he sung this song. So I was like in my teenage years when he used to sing this song. And, you know, when you're a teenager, you're just up there like, okay, my parents are singing, my aunt's singing, my grandmama's singing. You know, you just up there just listen to them sing. But then when you live a little longer, as the pastors used to say back then, you now understand what that song means, that sometimes my friends let me down. That's why I really didn't have friends. I may have had two, maybe. And one of them was a play sister. The other one was my bestie that you hear me talk about named Eminem, that we've been friends for over 30 years. Outside of that, it's just people I knew. People I hung around or who I let hang around me. That was the extent of the friendship thing. Because yes, friends will let you down. If friends have a bigger motive and you're the stumbling block, they'll find a way to get you out of the picture. So, like I said, as I lived a little longer, and it says sometimes my friends let me, yeah, and you learn to, that's why I'm a loner. That's why I stayed in my little corner. I stayed in the background. I try not to be in the forefront with everybody else. Nope, I'm going to stay back here. Because when things start to pop off, I knew where the exits were. But now that I'm older and I've had my own trials and tribulations, I now understand what that song means and how it means so much more to me now. You know, I've been MIA for a while. So I told you the last time I talked to you, I said, you know, if the Lord says the same, I'll explain what's been going on. Because I saw that the last time I posted anything was back in August or something like that, September, somewhere through there. And I'm like, well, that's not right. But at the same time, when the Lord is working on you, you need to be focused just on him. So he made it to where I couldn't do nothing but listen to him. He made it to where I couldn't do nothing but focus on what he was trying to get me to do, because he was preparing me for what was coming. And I am so glad that I didn't think I was bigger than he was and thought, okay, well, let me do this first and then we'll try to figure out what it. I'm so glad I listened to what he said, because I would not have been prepared for everything that happened. So my testimony starts October 31st of this year. So now it's time for me to fill in what's been going on and why I've been MIA. When God says you can speak, you speak. But when he knows your soul is troubled, he knows you may need to sit it out for a while to get yourself together before you address others, which is why you haven't heard from me in a while, because I was so ticked off at what was going on at the time. That wouldn't have been the appropriate time to try to talk to somebody. That wouldn't have been the appropriate time to try to minister to somebody, to motivate, to inspire. That wouldn't have been the time to do that. One of the things that we do as adults and even children is we try to help someone else, but we're upset ourselves. So we can't do what we need to do, to glorify God, because we're upset. So that means the advice or whatever we're doing is not going to come out quite right because we're upset. So in this case, because of what was going on back then, I was in no position to try to do a podcast, to try to do a blog, because I would have been typing angry. So he told me to sit it out for a minute, and that's what I did. So I was on FMLA work from home. Now, the difference between FMLA and FMLA work from home, FMLA is when people are just out of work, period, and you get like a portion of your paycheck. FMLA work from home means you're still working, you're just working from home. So in my case, my office went back in July, I think. So I've been on FMLA work from home since April. And my office went to our hybrid schedule in July. So they went to Monday, Wednesday, Friday back in July. But my doctor, due to my type 2 diabetes, which anybody who even looks at the CDC website, people with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, they make it seem like we already got one foot in the grave. So because of my type 2 diabetes, my doctor said I did not need to be around people just yet. People just willy-nilly walking around. We still in a pandemic, people. But my doctor said I didn't need to be around people just yet because, we're going back to the office setting. So it was approved and I continued to work from home. October 14th was when it was to expire. And my doctor, once again, we filled out the paperwork because I had to fill out my part. He had to fill out his part. So October 14th is when it expired. I saw my doctor the end of September. So while I was there, because I have to go every 6 months for him to check my blood sugar levels. So while I was there, we did the paperwork again. Because he said it needs to be extended another 6 months. He says I was getting better, but I wasn't there yet to where I need to be in an office setting around other people. This time the request was denied. Basically, my job overruled my doctor and said I had to return to in-person by October 31st. It was that day I told them, okay, yeah, I'll come back, but I will be looking for other employment elsewhere. This is the part where I said I was not capable of talking to anybody else. When I found that out, and because of the verbiage HR used, I knew who actually denied it. Because, I sent all the paperwork to HR, but the verbiage they use as to why it was denied, I'm like, that sounds like my supervisor. Come to find out, it was. Well, not my supervisor, my manager. Come to find out, it was. And that's where my life started to change, because now it's the concept of my job let a non-medical professional override an actual doctor who has my records, who knows my health history, who is making the best judgment due to what he's seen from test results, override a medical doctor in determining if I come to work or if I stay home. Okay, that's when everything changed. Because I'm like, nope, it's time to go. Because when you let someone else override a doctor, that means my health doesn't mean anything to you. I'm just another body in a seat. And I'm like, nope, it's time to go. Loyalty from the company, therefore, it plummeted. I'm like, time to go. So I'm like, yeah, I'll come back. But I told him it was the day because when my manager emailed me to see, what I was going to do, I said, yeah, I'll be back, but just know I am going to be looking for other employment. And I've been at this company 3 years, but here's where the test comes. By me trying to go find another job, God was like, why am I going to bless you with another job if you can't return to the one that you have? So basically, most jobs today, if you are a new hire, that means you'll be working in the office. Not only that, but me returning to work and not having an attitude about it, because I was so past, and I'm just going to say the word pissed, because upset isn't a strong enough word. Ticked off is not a strong enough word. I was so PO'd, but I had to keep it professional. I had to keep it holy. Because the test would be, the Lord is, like I said, why would I bless you with another job if you can't return to the job that you have now? Because any other job you have to be in office. So if you can't go back to your own job in the office, why am I going to bless you with another one where you have to be in the office? But not only that, you can't have an attitude about it. Because, I'm grateful that I even got the 6 months. Because, I had to put it in perspective. I was grateful. I was thankful. I was blessed that I got the 6 months I did off. So I had to think about it a different way. I'm like, okay, yeah, it got denied. Yeah, I don't agree with it. But you know what? Right by now, it's not worth me fighting over. Because I had another avenue where I could fight the HR about it. Or not fight. But I could appeal the decision about it. There was reasons. Because I was to the point where I'm like, if I walk in there and my nose starts to run, I'm coming after everybody. So the test with me was not only to go back into work, but to go back and be happy. So as people are telling me, welcome back, and I'm smiling, saying thank you in my head, I'm like, it's not a welcome. I was forced to come back. But I kept it holy. I kept it professional. I did what I was supposed to do, because even in my job, my desk sat like toward the back where the window was. So it's like I didn't have to see anybody anyway. So I was fine. Had my headphones on, was in my own little world doing my job. So I did just that. I was my old self, like everything was okay, even though it was not. So after looking for a job posting for the TDOC, where I left 5 years earlier, but a different department, I applied for it right before the cutoff. So if you all remember, I told you it would have been about 5 years ago, we had to leave for financial reasons. Both of us just could not work. Somebody had to stay home to save some money, and that was me. Well, I left TDOC. That's where I was, TDOC. So when this opportunity came up, now keep in mind, I've been looking at this job posting since October 31st. Been looking at it, but never did anything about it. But I've been looking at it. Never did anything. Finally, I went ahead and applied for it right before the cutoff. The next couple of weeks after that, boom, boom, boom. It was just like back to back to back to back to back. Every time I opened up my email, there was something from TDOC. So I applied October 16th. Like I said, it was right before the cutoff. Had my first interview October 25th. My second interview November 1st. And I was offered the position November 22nd. And I start tomorrow. Yes, God is real. Nothing happens that doggone fast. When they tell you that when you do something, you wait a week, and then they do go through the recipients, and then nothing happens that doggone fast. So I start a new job, making more money, less stress, because I'm going back home. TDOC is where I came from. The Lord saw fit and saw me to go back to TDOC. It's a different department, but it's basically doing the same thing. I'm just in a different department. And the supervisor I know, because I've worked with him before, the people that interviewed me, I knew. It's like, what the Lord said, because you did what I knew was the hardest for you to do, which was to go back into that office under the circumstances that you were in. And he saw I wasn't faking. There's a difference between doing what God asked you to do and faking. He saw I wasn't faking it. When I went to that office, I was happy. Spoke to people, hugged people, laughed with the people I used to see. Went back to doing the same thing I used to do. Wasn't faking it, was all pure. And because of that, he gave me my reward, which you all have heard me say. When they say that we get your rewards in heaven, no, you don't. You can get your rewards right here. And once again, I am a witness to you get your rewards while you're here to enjoy them, which is why I'm a big stickler on, complimenting people when they do something, telling them something, telling them something, because I want you to understand, I want you to be here to enjoy it. So not only am I going back to my old department, like I said, but I'm also getting more money from where I am now. So God knew what we needed with the new house, and now our son is a freshman in college. Oh my gosh, I did not know so much has changed from the time I was in college to now. I'm like, wait, why am I coming out of this much money? I feel like dude off of that Epson Eco Tank commercial with Shaq, where he sit up there saying, do I look like a money tree? It's like every time I turn around, that college is asking me for money. Where in my tax return do you see that I can afford all of this? But you know what? God provided every single time. Every time we was trying to figure out where we're going to get $3,400, where we're going to get $5,400, and we got to still pay for books. Where's this money coming from? What on my tax return is showing you that I could afford all of this with 7 people in the house? Please explain this to me. But the Lord provided every single time. When it came time due for that bill to be paid so he could register, it got covered. So I stand here to tell you again, when you do what God asks you to do, when you step out on faith and your actions go with your words, God's got you every time. But you got to understand, when things don't go your way, you need to look inside yourself, because you was putting on the front on the outside, but what was your soul doing on the inside? Because if you're not pure of heart, no, why he gonna bless you like that? Why are you gonna do that? That's like you trying to get a promotion at your job, but it's your coworker that did all the work. So why would they give you the promotion when it's your coworker that did it? Same thing with God. Why am I going to bless you with something that you really weren't sincere when I asked you to do it the first time? You just did it just so I could be quiet. So God blessed us with what we needed at the time we needed it. We're talking about the end of the year, and the bill for the college has already came out, and I was already like, where is this coming from? But at the same time, we was trying not to upset the son. Because my son is a money person. I have businesses, and one of them is JTS Cakes and Bake, which is named after the kids. And I'm like, Lord, if I ever retire and give this to my son, I don't know if the business will keep running, because he looks into everything, money, where money is going. So of course, when he saw the bill, his first concern was, well, how are we going to pay for this? And old school parent, that's not your concern. You need to focus on school. Let us and God focus on the bill. Don't worry about it. It will get paid. Well, then his next concern is, well, I don't want us to be broke. Don't worry about it. I says, you're in school now. God provided then. He'll provide now. Don't worry about it. So, and yes, if you want to know what happened, yes, God showed up again. The bill is going to get covered. So we're not, it's just so much that I wish people would understand. If you just do what God, he's telling you to do something because he knows what your destiny is. He knows what your journey is. The path that you're on, he knows what's coming, and he's trying to prepare us for it, but some of us just don't listen. So, goes back to what I said before, that you can get your reward while you're still on this side of the river, to enjoy it. And we are enjoying, and this is just the beginning. I get the job. I had to go do a medical screening. Last week, the hubby finds out he's finna to get a raise. You know what, God? You about to let me show these people in Hermitage how we praise when I pull out my tambourines and go hauling up and down this street. Because then I find out he gets a raise. And I'm like, you know what? First, I get a better paying job. Now the hubby's getting a raise. My son's college is being taken care of. I'm like, you know what, God? You go ahead. And it all went to the confirmation of, because I did what I was supposed to do. Here's the thing. When you are a joint unit, meaning in our case, because we're husband and wife, whatever we do either benefits or hurts everyone else. That's just the laws of the world. So even with this job, I had to discuss it with Bear. Because even though it was for me, it was more money for me. I knew what it would do for our family, because we were husband and wife. It's not something I could just up and do. Again, we're old school. That's how we were raised, old school. And I discussed it with him first. And he had questions. We had, questions. We was talking about it. And then at the end, he was like, you know what? It sounds good. If you want to do it, go for it. So you got to have that support staff. So I did what I was supposed to do. Then I got my blessing. While I'm doing that, he got his blessing. Then my son gets his blessing. And it automatically trickles down to the other three because now we have more funds to do stuff. Now they're getting blessed. So you can get your reward on this side of the river. Now, I understood. Now, back then when they said, you get your reward in glory, I understood that. But now, because I've been through some things, done some things, received blessing after blessing, now I can stand here and say that you can get your reward on this side of the river. So you can still be alive to enjoy it. Which is why, like I said, I'm a big stickler of complimenting people. And when people are saying that they don't want to do this or they're so stupid or da-da-da, I'm right there like, no, you're not. Don't ever let me hear you say that again. Because I'm here to give people, because sometimes people just need that boost. They know what's good for them. They know what they need to do, but sometimes they just need to hear it. And that's everybody, even us adults. You got jobs now where you're doing a good job, but it'd be nice every once in a while if somebody told you that. Don't sit there and say that you wouldn't. You would love to hear, good job. I like what you did with that. Good job. Everybody likes to have a compliment every once in a while. To see that what they're valued, their worth, to know that somebody is watching you. Somebody is seeing the good things that you're doing. It's nice to get a compliment every once in a while. That's why I love my young people, because I'm complimenting them at least every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I know what their Instagrams are, so I send them little DMs in their Instagram, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's just like I sent one to them yesterday about you almost there. Winter break is in the distance. You can see the light. Don't stop. Don't give up. Don't slow down. Don't stress out. I'm giving them their boost. I'm telling them, thanks snickerdoodles, because they love my snickerdoodles. So they already know when they get done, they're going to get like a buttload of snickerdoodles. So I'm like, thanks snickerdoodles. You're almost there. And they loved it. They sent me these little heart emojis. They loved it because that's what they needed. And it's always thank you. I needed that. You don't know. Well, like I told you, you don't know what these kids go through, that a little word of comfort every once in a while is such a blessing to them, because they're probably on the verge of stressing the crap out. Then they see crazy old Reverend Stephanie and they start laughing. And what I tell you, when you laugh, you forget about your problems for that second. And it lets them continue to do what they need to do. So then the Lord blessed the family, like I said, with the raise. I said, hold my mule while I get my tambourine. When your actions are aligned with your words. Now, remember, I spoke about that once too, that what you're saying doesn't align with what you're doing. That's two different things. And you wonder why people don't go to church anymore, because the pastor's up there and what he's saying isn't aligned with what he's doing. Or you got members of the church and you want to invite them, or they want to invite you to their church, but you see how they act in the office. You see how they act when they're out in public, and like, why would I want to go to your church? Your words are not aligning with what you come in on Monday morning talking about how the pastor tore up the church and da-da-da-da. Well, apparently it didn't stick with you because you acting a plum fool. So when your actions are aligned with your words, the blessings will overflow. And I'm here to tell you, I'm a witness. I told the Lord what I was willing to do to better the family, and he blessed me with my reward for not only my obedience, but my faithfulness. And when I tell you that, I say, yes, I went to him in prayer the day it happened. I was in tears when it got denied. It was right after my son's birthday. I was in tears. I called a friend because I needed to vent. I needed to get this out my system, because what I tell you, when things happen, you need to vent, because you need to have a way to get it out your system so you can listen to whatever God is trying to tell you to do. So when it happened, I had to vent. And I got talked down to where I was able to hear. Because again, if I didn't let that out, I would have went to work grudgingly. I would have been not happy, and I would have missed out on my blessing. So today, continue to work on learning to be patient and how to wait on the Lord, that in everything we do, in Jesus' name, will pay off after a while. Our problem is we can't wait for our blessings and always try to find ways on how to mess up something. Now more than ever, we need to stop, breathe, and slow down. God's work is not something that can be rushed or forced. It must be done right the first time. You cannot rush God. I would like to see somebody try. You cannot rush God. Your blessing will come in His time and His time alone. So I see that we have a guest waiting, Miss Darlene, who wants to add to the conversation. Good morning, Miss Darlene.
Yeah. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm still here. And when you start thinking about the journey, it's been long. But I have just arrived and I'm saying, well, what are we witnessing in America where people want you to think a certain way, but the window of your soul is through your.
Miss Darlene, your speaker went on mute. There you are. Yes, ma'am.
Because, when the phone rings, it really just cuts you right off.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm saying what we're witnessing in America and around the world, actually, as my people, are being redirected consistently, told what we can and cannot think, told us how we can express ourselves, and what we should be thinking is the new allegations of Mr. Bill Cosby, and I just never saw any of those. And I didn't. I mean, when we watched him have the pudding guy eating the Jell-O, and the kid sitting in his lap, and then all of the stuff. And then when he really started saying, well, wait a minute, my people. He said, what's going on with my people? Because there's a problem in my community, and what's happening. And he would hold meetings in the public and allow people to share their concerns. And then people said, well, he ain't got no right. And I'm saying, it's what he's witnessing. It's what I'm witnessing is a broken people who are not concerned that their children are not making it through the public school system. And when Nipsey was a brilliant young African American and just beautiful, I'm sure he was mixed some white or some Puerto Rican or something. It wasn't all little black. He was a chocolate boy, but that young man was gifted. And when he sat down with the young men, he taught them how to look beyond the dream. And let's talk about it. And when he did his first release on his record, and he had the people, I mean, when they dropped that record, it was like a pre-release. It was like a pre-release, just like on those video games. And everybody supported him, and he made the first $1 million, and he had to pay $100,000 in taxes. And I'm telling you, you don't understand life until you understand the connection of how we are generating every dollar, every penny, every cent to states across this nation. And we just let our children fail to thrive and die because willful compliance is real. I mean, when you see people that have disabilities, and you know they have a disability when you see them on camera, and then they're just talking about what they see, how they see it, and they're failing to comply, and then they die, and we say nothing. I'm saying Amir Locke was just laying on his cousin's couch, but I'm sure they knew who was in the house, because your little cell phone give off the little ping, and they know exactly where you at. Where you be at? I'd be right here. Bruce Mobile, where you be at? I'd be right here. And I'm saying, but then they knew that man that they was looking for wasn't in there, but when they kicked the door and the young man reached for the piece, had no idea, immediately was shocked. And I'm saying, but there's Philando Castillo, and we all witnessed the taking of his life, but we didn't talk about it. As that baby girl was in the backseat of that car, and seeing her, Papa, the one that was representing Papa, shot immediately because he had a permit to carry. And I did not hear any excerpts in the media about him being negative or, volatile. I heard that he worked at a public school site. And I'm saying, I just really have to ask myself, why do they want us to see ourselves in a manner in which we are so dysfunctional? As somebody's going to release some R. Kelly music, and the R. Kelly music is all about loving black women as they are. And all of his music was all about love and helped a lot of brothers out. I mean, backyard party is real. And I'm just trying to understand how they expect us to see our people as the few people that rise up, even yay. Well, he just picked wrong. That's all I'm saying. I mean, the queen of his life, the one that bore his children, well, she ain't never been right. But she chose to have children by him, and that was a good move for her. $200,000 a month is some real cash, But when there's still a disagreement as to how the children are in the public and publicly perceived, and then this young man going through some trials and tribulations where he would just wear a full mask, and then the woman, she just wear a full bodysuit, like snake suit skin, whatever. I mean, they got some things going on, but that's them. I don't think I need to know about that every day. But I would like to know how many children are being given support, especially when a young woman here in Nevada could take the lives of her children 1 month in 1 year. And then they parade this young woman on television in an orange jumpsuit, and then someone shows some compassion because she was really just broken. She didn't know she had done what she had done. And when you don't have no milk, as a milk provider of a 1 month old and a 1 year old, them babies probably should have never been on her breast. And I mean, as a mama, I would have been able to talk to my child about that, and I would have been right there. But this young man had already went back to work, and he didn't see me. There was no mama right there helping that child with the children. And she was just broken. Postpartum depression is real. It is real. They've already identified it and what to do about it. But when your state is being sued by the federal government for failing to provide the Title II support for the children with disabilities, and you're told as a state, this notice will be posted, and then you keep right along like ain't somebody told your ass something. And then I say, well, did they not know that I can read too? And so, because I could read, I felt everybody needs to hear the conclusion of the complaint. So I just put it in, open the PDF and ask, well, any program will read back to you, except for I don't think Microsoft programs do. But they could just read the text. And, that's just a tool for our children to understand how to use these devices as tools, because they can keep track of your assignments, and they can, and they can also document what you see, so you could review the notes in the classroom. And I'm saying, or what the teacher, so you won't be confused. But they don't want you using your devices in the classroom. Well, this is not working for everyone. And how long will we pretend that it is? We have far too many people in the penitentiary system, especially of color. But when you, at the age of 11, you can lose your gifted and talented placement based on legislative writings from the Nevada legislature. And I'm saying, well, I just never knew that could happen until I got here. So I'm blessed. You stay blessed. Stephanie, Miss Rogers, have a blessed day. Thank you for letting me run my mouth.
That's okay. Sometimes we got to talk about things that are on our minds so we can hear what God wants us to do. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
You too. Let's talk about one thing that Miss Darlene said about the woman who took the lives of her children. Let's talk about that. So let's talk about Twitch. We all know who Twitch is from Ellen DeGeneres. He was a gifted man, But if you remember when I talked last time about you never know what someone is going through. Like you, me, right here, you been battling depression for the past, 9 years now, but you never know by listening to me. You never know by watching me. You never know by talking to me. You just think I'm half off plumb, that a psychiatric ward is missing me from somewhere, and you need to find out where I belong. It goes back to what I told you. You never know what's going on, which is why I'm a big advocate for my babies. We don't know what happens when they leave the house. We don't know what they see when they go to school. We don't know what they see when they're around their friends. We don't know what they see when we're not around. Twitch is now a perfect example of that. You would think where he was, everything that was going on, his gift, you would think he was fine, but apparently something was going on. Now, also remember what I also said, when the news comes out, don't believe everything you hear, because it's all about getting it out first. Doesn't mean it's going to always be accurate, but it's always about being the first one to get it out. So wait a while, because I plan on to, because I still don't want to believe it, but I'm going to wait another week or so until they get everything they need to do so we can get the full picture. But it doesn't matter. The end game is he's gone. And apparently the one thing that is consistent is he killed himself. Why? We don't know. But it goes back to what I told you when I said, like, people, when it comes to me, unless I tell you that I've been suffering depression for 9 years, you wouldn't know it. And that's what it goes back when I tell you stuff. People who are going through things, you will never know unless we tell you, or unless we purposely let our guard down for you to ask us what is going on, because then we're looking for help. So the thing with Twitch boggles my mind, but it goes back to what I always say. You don't know what somebody's going through. Just because you got all this money and you think you got all these gifts, that does not mean that your life is any better. Something was going on with this man that he thought that was the only way he can get out. He leaves behind a wife. He leaves behind children. He leaves behind a legacy. But again, we don't know what's going on. And it goes back to what I always say. You don't know what's going on with somebody unless we tell you. So we need to keep that family in prayer. And again, don't jump into the hype of what the news says, because it's all about getting the news out there first. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's accurate, but it still doesn't change the fact that he's gone. Because when I first read it, the first thing I'm thinking of, like, okay, what, Twitch is that far up in popularity that now he's part of the death hoax? Because, you know, you got so many celebrities that they say died and they didn't. But then as more news outlets posted it, I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. Then I'm like, no, not Twitch. He had that beautiful smile. He was always happy. This and this and blah, blah, blah. What the what? You never know what somebody's, and you can see that in the news every day, where people are like, well, I didn't know she was like that. She was so fine. She was always so quiet. And then one day they snapped. You don't know what people are going through. That's why I hate it when people try to compare, just because me and you may be going through the same thing, you try to compare yours to me. That's you. You know, I can handle my own. You look like you're about to have a nervous breakdown. So you got to understand that we can go through the same things as someone else, but we may be the stronger person to deal with it than somebody else. But again, you don't know that. Thank you again, Miss Darlene. But I need to get back on what we were talking about. So we have, oh look, we have another guest. Well, look yonder. We have another guest, and it's Miss Darlene. Again, coming to bless us with some more knowledge. Go ahead, Miss Darlene.
You're so right. Yeah, and it's our journey. It's just our journey, and we know where we are as individuals. My journey is long. My mother just passed on December the 4th, and that was relieving my soul, but still hurting my heart. And I wish that she never left. You understand what I'm saying? We had a wonderful, loving relationship. Believe me, growing up, I got my ass whooped every other day because I always had something to say. And, you know, irregardless of how I grew up, My mother taught me how to respect myself, how to love myself, how to love my children, and just the value of family. And she always demanded that we come together, no matter how many problems we had with each other. We would come together as a family in honor of her. And we did. And, every year we used to celebrate her birthday at the timeshare. And we have a timeshare. I have a roof over my head. I have a car note. And I also have her, what do you call that? Her annuity. I will receive her retirement for the rest of my life. And I'm just saying that she planned for all this. And it happened. And, she was just so tired. So, but we don't know. And then I had a nephew to commit suicide at 30-something, and I didn't know this young man. But he was my first cousin's son. But first cousins just mean that we don't know our people anymore. We don't even know who we are. We don't know who we're connected to. But yet and still, we do know this. They want us to think about Bill Cosby in a situation that I never saw him in. And then I understood that $3.2 million is a lot of money. And it's just a lot of money. And then to understand that perhaps, perhaps we should be having these types of conversations that allow us to expand our perception of vision, because so many people didn't have children, so they don't know what it's like to raise children. And then there are a lot of people that are just harvesting because they figured it out. They can live in a fine house and have a beautiful car and adopt children and still receive the revenue. But for you, if you ain't got no skills and you have that child, if you're not providing for that child, you could lose that child, and it just goes into the system. And then we have a failure to teach family values. And some people have never seen or witnessed love, compassion, understanding. And then people just, when Donald was the president and he said he could do anything, it was true. He could do anything, and he did. And people said, well, if he followed the rules, well, that's the way it goes. And I'm saying, if you understand, in America, it's the rules that are more pertinent than anything, because the process is just the process. The federal government doesn't have to sue your state to tell your state to get right. No, because they can just withdraw all of the federal money if you can't get your shit right. And that's what I'm waiting to see. Today I'm going to figure out what I'm going to go wear to the Nevada State Board meeting. I can't wait to go, because I could get my 2 minutes behind every conversation they have, and I have something to say for everything that they're doing, especially when they would put it on the consent agenda, so that you're not supposed to have conversations, you're just supposed to accept. But when you see the system is just so broken, Lord help us. How do we assess, evaluate, and understand that people come here every day to be citizens, because they're coming from countries and states and, non-American states, just to have what? A roof over their head. Even if they don't have a roof, they've walked for many, many miles to get here, because they can live in a house or a box, and 20 of them can live in there by themselves if they want to, and each one helping the next family member rise up with pain. They don't have a problem living with each other. But for whatever reason, we can't even leave our kids in the house after 18, because they ain't doing what they should be doing, and they ain't passing in school, and that means they gonna cut your grant, and that means you ain't gonna get shit, and then that means you're gonna put that child out. And that's what Nipsey was saying. Basically, he said at 18, he was just being identified as a troublemaker. Why should he stay there? He knew how to make some money, and that's what he did. He hustled the t-shirts, and then, he was hip, and it was happening. And then the police would come in and snatch their shit. But, you go down to Mexico, get some more. You just have to understand, if you know the game, you can play the game. But if you don't know the game, you can't play well at all. It's just as we're on these boxes and we've created our little logos, and we talk to people about what it feels like to stand up, what it feels like to know that you're right, and what it feels like and what it should feel like for this thing we call citizenship. When in America we have to have a special day acknowledging that Juneteenth did happen. Hello? We have to have a video on Apple TV that says the emancipation and then shows Will Smith in a dedicated role with a white man sitting with a shotgun and him looking and he has been beaten to death. And I'm saying, oh, I never wanted to see him like that. Well, hell, I don't see myself like that. But I know that I have seen movies where we would pretend. I mean, that, we know what it's like. Massa, please don't beat me, Massa. And Massa would be raping the woman, and we'd all see it and know that we couldn't do shit about it. Hell, where around corners in large cities, young black women are being raped by officers too. But they only have their word until the camera came into play, just like the Rodney King beating. Oh, we all witnessed Rodney King's beating. I mean, are you serious? We witnessed George Floyd, Amir Locke, Ahmaud Arbery. And when will we get tired of witnessing when we won't say anything and just keep on paying them taxes? $3.2 million. It's the same kind of, was it Jill Scott or was it, who was that had Erica? Oh, no, I think it was Jill Scott. We got to pay that tax evasion money. Because she should have paid her taxes, but then that same year they pulled Wesley Snipes in. He had to pay some money and he had to come off that set wherever he was in the world and come back and go to court to be told how he had to pay his taxes. Boo. But all of that money that comes to local people, well, they just didn't understand that they weren't following the process. And there's so much flexibility in states' rights. And I understand states' rights. But I also understand that I pledged allegiance, so it's me. The allegiance is to myself. And when I question what I see, I have a right to question it. And you have an obligation, as you were sitting on the dais, representing the people who look like me, to hear me and hear me clearly. It is we, the people, and we have arrived. And I'm not accepting that blank check marked insufficient funds. Because that day is long gone. And we are so blessed, so highly favored. And these tools that we use today, well, girl, all I can say is stay highly blessed and highly favored and have a beautiful day.
You too, Miss Darlene.
A beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We need to remember that sometimes the minute we get a chance to talk, we got things to say. Again, like I told Miss Darlene earlier, she had something that had to be said because the Lord's supposed to put something in her spirit. So the Lord's supposed to put something in front of her path, but she's got to get something off of her chest first so she'll be able to see it. Just like I said with me in this new job, I had to let the frustration out. I had to talk it out with someone else so I would be able to receive what was coming. It's the same thing. Now, if you know me, I can't stay down for too long. We talk about the sad stuff. Yeah, we get that out the way, but then I got to do something to show you why probably a psych ward is looking for me. So, with all that's been going on top of the nonprofit getting up and running, which is yet another. If you was with me before, you heard me talk about finally the Lord blessing me with how to turn the ministry into a nonprofit, dealing with sick babies, then getting sick myself. Now I'm back to a place where I can get back to work. All of that has been going on in October. It was one thing after another. One thing after the minute I thought I was going to get ready to do something, boom, here comes the next thing. Boom, here comes the next thing. Boom. But I always kept my eye on the prize, which is I need to get back on top because I got a job to do. This ain't going to keep me down too long. I got a job to do. But at the same time, it could have been the Lord telling me, I need you to sit down for a minute. Because when you get back up again, you're not going to have time to rest because we got to play catch up, which is where I am now. trying to play catch up, and that's okay. The nonprofit Next Generation Ministries Incorporated is services children, families, and seniors. If you want to go with a person's specialty or what they mainly focus with, my genre is youth and young adults because I've been there, I've talked to them. So my genre is youth and young adults, but the ministry serves all of that: children, families, seniors, because those are the three groups that need the most help. And I'm local, so I stick with the local, which you heard me say that before. You got the Red Cross and all these other people that do international. I need to stay local, old school. You need to take care of home first. So that's what we're doing. So we are in the process because, Christmas time is when everybody starts cleaning out the closet because the kids are getting new clothes. So we're now taking slightly used clothes, shoes, toys for all ages and all genders. And we are building back up our prayer closet to be ready when help is needed. What I love is when I know a family is in need of baby clothes or teenage clothes or some shoes. Okay, here you go. And it's not like Rudy Poot stuff that's got a stain, stuff that's got a button missing. No, these are the clothes that I didn't want to give to Goodwill, but I kept at the house to make sure, if somebody needed it, I can give it to the next person. And I know there's a lot of people that are like that. They have clothes that they want to give, but they don't want to necessarily give it to Goodwill. Not saying nothing against Goodwill because it's not. But we all know that there's the kind of clothes that we get that we don't want to give to Goodwill. We rather hold on to it in case somebody needs it. And that's what we have. So we're still taking donations, but when I had the donations, I had like 8 different campaigns: youth and young adult, families. I killed all of that. Now it's just the one. It's just one general place where you can donate, and we just put the money where it is at the time. Like now it's Christmas, so we'll make sure youth that need stuff, families, seniors who may need a little helping hand during Christmas. That's what we do. So that's what we do. So regardless of where you donate, it goes to help the community to get whatever they need. And remember, your donations are tax deductible. Now, let me tell you about how the Lord is a blessing. To give you an idea of how we're doing so far, like I said, we became a nonprofit back in April. But with all the paperwork and everything else, by the time we really got up and running, now don't get me wrong, Next Generations has been a ministry for 18 years now. We just recently turned to a nonprofit because we want to help more people. Because, most of the things that we were doing was me, the hubby, my mom, and probably a couple of my other donors have been with me. But we wanted to do more because the needs were great. So one thing we was able to do was this Thanksgiving, we was able to feed a new mother and her family. I'm telling you, what I always tell you, that when the Lord blesses us, we are supposed to bless others. Remember, I've always told you that when the Lord blesses you with something, you're not supposed to hold on to it. You're supposed to bless someone else. So this Thanksgiving, we were blessed with more than enough food for my family. We were more than enough. So in turn, we decided to bless a new mother and her family. New mother meaning she just gave birth mid-October. There's no way, because 2 of my kids were born October 13th and October 16th. Don't ask me how that happened. I don't know. The Lord has a sense of humor. By November, I wasn't studying a stove. I don't care what you ate for Thanksgiving. All I want was sleep. So I understood how the mother was about, you just gave birth. You're still trying to heal. You're going to be going back to work pretty soon. You ain't thinking about no Thanksgiving. So I asked, because you don't automatically assume just because somebody's going through something that they want your help. No, you need to ask. So I asked, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? Would it be okay if we did this? So that's what Next Generation did. We were able to feed. And when I say feed, I'm old school. You're gonna keep hearing me say that because there's not a lot of us old school out there. And because now I'm a GG, that would make me a nana, I guess. The nanas that don't exist anymore. I'm old school. So everything I do is old school. So when I say we fed them, we fed them. I fried them a turkey. I baked them a ham, a boneless spiral ham with brown sugar glaze. They had every side to man. They had sweet potatoes, dressing, gravy, cranberry sauce, potato salad, green beans, thanks to my mother, and mac and cheese. They even had snickerdoodles for dessert with a half gallon of Southern sweet tea. When I say we feed, we feed. I'm not going to give you a little tidbit here. No, I gave them enough to where they had leftovers for days. And it was a blessing to the mother because she said thank you, because then all she had to do, because they fixed the plate. One of the father came, fixed them a plate for him and the wife, and then I had him take all that stuff with him. So it was a blessing to the mother because she said all she has to do is just fix sides, every once in a while. Which fixing sides, that's okay. And she was okay with that because the main part of it was done. You could have turkey today, ham another day. We fed. That's what we do. We feed. If we're going to feed someone, we're going to make sure they get stuffed. And I talked to her later on. She was good. She was so good. But next time, I want to do it not just for the holidays. I want to feed more. This is what I mean by being able to feed those who need our help. And whether if I make it myself, which I have no problem doing it myself. Everybody loves a good home cooking. Or I get a catering company because I know another person who who does home cooked Southern foods that has a catering company. So I can get a catering company, I can get her to help, or I can give people gift cards because everybody now has these different allergies and different food requirements. That's why I love doing gift cards, so I can let them go and get whatever they need, so they can to help themselves. But we need more donations to bless more in 2023. So I'm asking for help. I can only do so much because, I'm blessing as I'm getting blessed, but I still got to remember I got children of my own I have to feed. I want to help other people, but I still got to remember I got to take care of home. How am I feeding these people and they're getting stuff and they're getting good and my kids are sitting up there like, okay, well, what we gonna eat? Because you took everything out the house to go feed them. So it's one of those things that you have to decide, but I'm going to do what I need to do. My kids are going to get fed. The family's going to get fed regardless. But if somebody comes to me needing help, I'm going to do whatever I can to help them because I was there. Not knowing where the food was coming from. Being old school, you fix everything you can. You put everything you see in that pantry together until there was just nothing left to put together. So I've been there. And I know what it's like. But I do remember my friend telling me, a closed mouth can't get fed. So I remember how I had to be humble to ask for the help. But not everybody is like me. That goes back to that part again. Not everybody is like you. Not everybody is like me to put that aside to make sure the family is fed. This day and age, you get shut down if you sit up there and ask for help. You get talked about if you sit there and ask for help. That they're like, you know what, we'll just starve to death because you can't help me, but then, talk down to me and then offer the help. Never mind. I don't want it now. So we need to be careful when we sit up there and criticize, well, do you really need help? You don't look like it. You don't know what they go through. That may be the one good pair of clothes they had to look presentable. So it may not look like they need help, but when you go to their house, yes, they do. So we need to be able to help any way we can. And that's what Next Generation does. We're a different type of nonprofit. We're helping, we're starting in the community. I'm going to them. My dream is to get a food truck so I can physically drive, bringing food, bringing clothes, bringing motivation, bringing happiness, whatever I can do. That's what my goal is. And that's where the Lord is leading me to. And I'm going to get there. So this is the part about being the humble part, asking for help. That's what I'm doing. The ministry is asking for help because we can't do this by ourselves. I'm sorry. I'm not blind to the fact that I can't do all of this alone. I'm going to need help. So that's why we're asking for help. And there are so many ways you can give. And whenever the donations are used, you'll know. I'm that person. I'm open. If people donate and I use it for something to help a family, you're going to know. Because you need to know that your donations are going where they said they were going to go. Like I said, I say what I do and I do what I say. So we have an e-commerce. We're on Etsy, Amazon. We got books on Amazon, like a food journal, which is what my diabetic behind should be writing in. But hey, I'm that picture of the diabetic of what not to do. We got different things on different platforms as a way of raising money, because anything people buy, from the shirts to the pillowcases, car decals, mugs, everything that we have on Etsy, Amazon, wherever, all goes to the ministry. All of it. I'm not taking no percentage because it's not for me. It's for the ministry. It's to fund the ministry. So that's a way you can donate. If you go to the blog, there's a link from Give Butter where you can donate. In the future, we will be partnering with other organizations that share our vision to help more souls in other local communities. So be on the lookout for that. I know I'm a partner with St. Jude. Why? Because St. Jude deals with children. St. Jude deals with children with cancer, which is how my father got his mansion. So yes, that's automatic. Yes, because it's babies and it's dealing with cancer. So, and I knew what it was like when we went through with my father. So yes, I'm going to find out a way. We're doing donations where we donate to St. Jude. Then, of course, there's the Nashville Rescue Mission, because we're here in Nashville, to help those that we see. And then there's other organizations. I'm looking for like children homes, women children homes, father children homes, places locally that I can help. Like I said, I want to start at home first before I try to go abroad. It would be nice, to travel, outside of Hermitage, outside of Nashville, outside of Tennessee, but we got to take care of home first, work with what we got here. Doesn't mean it'll always stay here, because it goes back to, it'll go to where the need is. So if something's going on in Texas, like, when they had the flooding and stuff, like, yes, we're going to take up donations to help there. Obviously, because if something was going on in Tennessee, we would want people to donate to help get us back on our feet. So stuff like that, yes. That's just a gimme, floods, snows, mudslides, children, wherever in the world, if they're taking up donations to send to help them, yes, that's what we're going to do. Because we want to, it still goes back to, you still got to be a blessing to someone else. But as we approach the Christmas season, it is the time to bless someone else, because there are families, there are persons that you work with. They may look nice, they may talk intelligent, but when they go home, there's no electricity. There's probably no water. There's probably a little bit of no food. They probably got like maybe a good week's worth of clothes to play the part that they're fine. But when they go home to emptiness. Or it could be a man. We know everything we think of women. No, there are men too. They may have 1 or 2 or 3 good suits, because with men, they can just swap out the pants and change out the jackets, and one suit can last about 5 days. But when they go home, they have a family to feed and there's no food. They have a sick child to take care of and there's no money. We don't know. So it's time to be a blessing to someone else. God blessed us so we can bless others. Will you do the Lord's will? That's what Christmas is. We're always thinking that there's something going on and we don't know the whole story. That's why you have these people snapping, because we don't know. Well, when Bob came to work, he was so happy. He said the wife, da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, Bob just told you that because in his mind, that's what he probably wanted. But that's not what was going on. And now Bob and all his kids and the wife are gone. We need to be a blessing this year, or not this year, but really every day. But we need to be a blessing, especially Christmas season, because man has just polluted what Christmas is. We think Christmas is about giving gifts, doing this. No, Christmas is about blessing others. In a way that we can't. It's about blessing others with something else. For once, do something for someone else. Instead of buying that expensive Christmas gift for yourself, use that to bless someone else. We all know someone who stands in need of a blessing. Now, I say that because I told you, I'm not going to tell you to do something if I'm not going to do it. I know my husband think if he see one more thing from Amazon, we're going to have a discussion. We're going to have a discussion. But it's not like I'm getting it for myself. I'm giving as much as I'm getting. If I get something, I'm giving something. It's an even thing. Of course, the hubby don't see it that way. He's just seeing what's coming out the bank account. What are you buying? But I'm giving to get to give. It's just what I do. Like now, we're going to have a yard sale. I got this big, huge Barbie mansion, and I'm going to sell it with all the Barbie cars, Barbie dolls. I got 2 sheds full of stuff. And I said, we need to have one big yard sale. Again, all the money will go towards the ministry, but we need to clear that yard, that shed out. Now, I tell you, I got 2 granddaughters. I'm not giving that shed to them grandkids because they'll destroy it. And that mansion is beautiful. It is huge. I'm not giving it to my grandkids. They'll kill it. It'll be like Godzilla walking through Tokyo. No, I'm not giving that to them. So I'm going to figure out a way how to do it, because that's a lot of crap I'd have to pack up and go to a location somewhere and announce, okay, here I am. Here's everything. Come buy it. But I'm going to have to figure it. I'll figure that out sooner or later. But as we approach the Christmas season, again, I told y'all I'm half off plum. As we approach the Christmas season, remember to be a blessing to someone in need. And you know who it is. You know in your heart that you know who it is that needs something. Send them a gift card. Send them a little cash. Do something to let them know whatever it is, that negativity that you're thinking, stop thinking it. Stop it. You know, that's why I tell people all the time, I love you. I ain't got to know you to love you. I love you. So I pray nothing but God's blessings on each and every one of you this holiday season. Pray for me and my family as I will pray for all of you. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. I don't care. I'm going to love you anyway. But always remember to be that light in someone else's darkness. If you want to donate, if you want to see just how crazy off plum I am, you know, you can always visit the blog, Rev, R-E-V, Stephanie, S-T-E-F-A-N-I-E 73.com. And read some of the posts I've done before. If you're new to this platform, read some of the posts that I've done before. In this app, you have the link to my podcast. One day when you want to binge, when you say, well, how crazy is she? Start from the beginning. You'll see. Descent to madness. But I love it. Like my mother says, I'll never grow up. And I won't. That's why me and my youth and young adults get along so well. No. Why? Life is too short. I'm having too much fun. I love what I do. That's why God told me, you know, I want you to be this way because this is what I called you. I called you to do this because of the personality that you have. Because of your character. I want you to be this way. Don't be like all the other ministers. Don't be like all the other preachers, all the other elders. I want you to be you because you can attract a different kind of audience because I make you think outside the box, just like me. I give you things from a different perspective. It's not always following the ways of the old school. Sometimes we got to break in some of the new school because the times have changed. The people haven't, but the times have changed. So I pray nothing but blessings and glory to you this Christmas. Stay safe, stay warm, and as always is what you hear me say. Always remember to be that light in someone else's darkness. Until we can talk again, stay blessed.